Hi, we're going to start making some simple flowers using our Toll painting brush strokes and some of the paint loading techniques. As a reminder, this was when we were tipping. Hi, Cat. This was double loading the brush. This is a simple comma stroke. We have a little bit more side loading here. And I'll be demonstrating on a piece and I'll go through flower by flower. So I'll be working on a glass pot. We're going to start by lining the greenery. So here's our palette. I'm watering down the paint a little because it's very thick, as we talked about last time. So that looks pretty good. I'm taking a little paint off one side so I can pick up my second color on the other. This looks like white. It's this weird shade of gold. It's a specialty paint. The sun comes from the top, so it's important to try to remember to have your brush angled properly. This doesn't look as clean as I thought it was, but here we go. I like to do a little sine wave kind of pattern. Oh, by the way, painting on glass is its own thing. Back in. All right, I also have a seriously unhappy cat, so I'm going to, having finished that, I'm going to stop for a minute and bring love to my cat. So I've laid in some tendrils and greenery. I have the destination points for 6 flowers. I've decided to do a rose, a tulip, and a daisy. That's important because you need to know what leaf to put on what stem. So we're going to do the tulip leaf first. You would be double loading your brush. Here we go. Oh dear, the cat's back. We'll just soldier on. So I'm actually working quite thick today because I'm working on the glass, so I'm not really thinning it much. Here's the working it in to the brush a little bit better. I didn't really water it down at all. So we said rose, tulip, daisy. So I know that the tulip will be here. My leaf structure has to be there. I'm remembering which side of the brush has the light on it. So the light comes from the top. And we're going to basically be doing an S stroke. Take it, tip down, pull back. And that's sort of your S stroke. And let's do that on the other side. So I rotated the brush, coming in now, opening it right up, taking it down. Now, because I'm working on the glass, I can't really see that very well. So I am probably going to reload my brush and do it again. Okay, so I changed both my brush and I added a brighter gold. I'm going to soldier on and it will probably be fine at the very end. Probably I'm going to clean that up with a secondary brush. But I'm also going to let it dry up a bit. So there we are. And now we're going to move onward to the rose and the daisy. So the daisy pattern for the leaf, I usually just do a very small comma. The nice thing is you could just think about where you want it. Like you almost see it on the glass and then you go ahead and make it happen. So I actually need some tendril structure before I can put the leaf on. So there's my tendril structure. Another one there. Now I'm going to come in with some leaf. I'm not going to double load on this because it gets messy. So really we're just touching the brush. This would be the vision of what it's going to look like. You can see with the leaf pattern there, we're going to need our chisel brush. That's this one. We're going to double load it. You probably see that, eh? Gold on the one side. There, I found some gold. Green on the other. Little gold. Now I'm just pulling it in. Now I'm going to work it back and forth on my palette plate for a moment. Okay. And here we go. We're just going to do a nice little ziggy-zaggy. All right. I'm pausing because this brush is actually a little bit big for the job, but we're going to go in. We can always wipe it off if we can't make it happen. So just pull it up and down, up and down. So we're just chopping it up and then bringing it down. Okay, I'm going to load my brush again because it's already getting a bit thin for my little eyes. Also, once you put a first load on, you actually have something for the paint to grab. So sometimes just working on it twice is a good strategy. Maybe not. It's hard to say. There's your theoretical rose leaf there. I'm going to pause, and now we're going to go into doing some of the actual flowers. All right, we're going to work on the daisies. So I've got some white paint already loaded on my brush. Now I'm just going to tip it, literally just a little tiny touch, and I'm anchoring my hand so that I don't dip in too deep. And this brush has a lot of tips, so see, like, that's basically nothing. That's a very small amount, and yet that's going to be more than ample. When you put your daisy leaf on, look, I see the daisy in my head. I want it sideways. It's going to be looking down. You leave an area for the center because that part goes last. Now I'm anchored my hand again. I'm going to push down, pull up. That will cause the tipping to splay out with color. And I do it 1, 2. You don't move along in sequence. You actually jog back and forth. So here we go with the 1. Sorry, guys. Okay, look at that brush spreading out, pulling back, and 1. Okay, now we're gonna flop my pot. Okay, now I'm reversing it, meaning it's 180 degrees the other way around, pulling it flat, pulling it back. 2. Now I'm pausing because I probably already need a little bit more of the purple. So I'm going to take that little tiny bit that was left off. I'm just reloading my brush, put a little more white on it. Single stroke to see how things are going. Now that was a lot, so I'm happy I did that. So now that's actually worked the paint better into the brush. So now I'm going to finish with doing my rest of my flower. Here comes 2. Now turn it around so we can get the other side of the brush that still has some paint on it. 3. Okay, and I'm really lazy, but I'm gonna have to do one more loading of the brush. No, sometimes I just steal a little from here. Just taking a little tiny bit. It's because I want a little bit more, so I think there's still a fair bit of white there. And I almost want a little bit more color on this one. So that's not authentic anymore, but that's okay. I'm gonna put that last stroke in. Now I'm anxious because I think my brush is probably not enough paint. So the reason why you're alternating the strokes is because these ones at the back are furthest away from you. So you would be watching, you would see that this one is lapping on the side here. I'm just going to pull that out because it didn't lap very nicely. And then that stroke here is closest to you, so that you'd be seeing both sides there. I'm not going to worry about the little bit of green under there. We'll be doing the center in a minute when I've changed colors. So I'm going to pause now. Okay, we're ready to do the center of the flower now, which is same brush, same technique, side loading. We're going to do yellow and red. I'm going to want the red on the bottom and yellow on the top. I'm going to work that paint better into the brush. Okay. So it's exactly the same technique. I'm going to push down, pull up, and arc it across. Here we go. Going fairly slow because I think I've got too much red there. I'm gonna do the other corner a little. Also taking some color off my brush because I got way too much red on it. I'm gonna pop a little bit more yellow on there. I'm just gonna do the same thing from the other side to make sure that I have a nice round center there. There we go. There's a little edge of red on the top, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Also, because I've got the colors loaded on the brush, I can move right into my tulip, which is right here. So thinking about what colors I want, sorry, I'm looking for my brush, there it is. I'm going to want, I guess, red on the inside and yellow on the outside, and my tulip's going to be in this area here. Not going to be that big. So you do the outside leaves first and then the center leaf, because when you're looking at it, the leaf here is the leaf closest to your eyes, so you'd be seeing the edges. Do the outsides. Again, it's going to be that nice S stroke, and I'm going to reload my brush. Believe it or not, part of the problem I'm having is that the yellow and the red are two different manufacturers. The viscosity of the paint is not equal, and you're double loading, which is a problem, but you just sort of soldier on. All right, I'm just cleaning up the tops there because they're a little better. Okay, so I've just done a double stroke there, and I'm trying to clean up my edges here because there's some paint down already. It'll go with better grace. I'd like to do that one more time. So I'm loading a little more paint on top. I'm gonna make the strokes slightly bigger this time. My brush has gotten slightly dirty, but that's okay. All right, there's your tulip. So we talked about doing a rose as well, but I think on the glass, the rose is going to be a real problem. So for now, we'll just have staying with the tulip and the daisy. And we'll look forward to seeing y'all on Sunday. You can be researching lots of videos on folk art painting if you want to do some independent study. Have a good night, all.